चक्षुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नित्यानंद अवधूतेन्दु वसुध प्राणवल्लभ जानव जीवितपतिः कृष्ण प्रेम प्रगत प्रभु पद्मावती श्रुत श्रीमान सचिनंदन पूर्वजः भावोन्मुक्त जगत्राता रक्त गौर कलेवरः। नमो नमो अनिरुद्धाय ऋषिकेश इंद्रियात्मने नमः परमहंसाय पूर्णाय निवृत्तात्मने स्वर्गपर्गद्वाराय नित्यं शुचि सदे नमः। नमः हिरण्यवीर्याय चातुर्होत्राय तंतवे। Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you Madhupati Prabhu for ordering, empowering, and giving me this opportunity. We have been last few days. Today is the fifth session. We have been, wonderfully listening to this Bhagavad Gita discussion, and Madhupati Prabhu asked me and Harikishore Prabhu and me to speak on yoga, the yoga ladder, and I'm praying to the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas present that I can say something which we can use in our day-to-day life. I'm praying for two goals. One is that all this good work done in last 4 days doesn't get nullified by saying something. I don't think that's a very pure discussion which has happened. I'm just praying that I don't say something or do something or think something wrong which wipes out all the nice discussion and then mood built up which has been done. And the second prayer I'm doing is that I prepare this ground in first few minutes of today's discussion so that Harikishore Prabhu can do the grand finale and talk about the ultimate yoga. Yeah. So with that, yoga is in the context of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So there are 5 subject matters which are discussed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. First one is Ishvara, who is the supreme controller, Sri Bhagavan, Krishna. Second is Jiva, the marginal potency, part and parcel of the infinite, which is infinite, just like the spark of a fire or a drop from the ocean. It's Jiva. Prakriti, the external energy of Krishna, which acts under the control of Sri Krishna. Maya Dakshina Prakriti, Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Kala, the time factor, under the influence of which the cycle of repeated birth, birth, old age, disease, and death that's happening. And then finally, karma, which is already very nicely discussed. All these points are discussed. I'm just trying to set up the context, very nicely. Yesterday, karma, why good things, why bad things happen to good people, in the context. Karma was discussed very nicely. Who am I was discussed very nicely with Amritanand Prabhu, Surabhi Mataji. Karma was described wonderfully by Simhesvara Prabhu and Gopi Kananta Prabhu, and very nicely, Madhupati Prabhu and Krishnavanan Prabhu, started this discussion. So now I have a question that out of these 5, 4 are eternal. There's one which is non-eternal. Any guesses?
Karma.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Karma is the one which is non-eternal. Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, and Kala. Sometimes there is some confusion, but in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that how, sometimes Mayavadi says that, Prakriti, this material world is non-permanent, but he talks in the context that how it gets created, annihilated, created. So in that cycle, in that context, it's permanent. Now, it is already discussed that soul, especially wonderfully by Who Am I discussion, it was I think second day. Soul, so Jiva, the soul, is in 2 positions. In the original or constitutional position, and then in the when it comes in the contact with matter, when it comes in contact with 3 modes of material nature, it's in the conditioned state. When Jiva is in the constitutional position, the original position, its dharma is called Nitya Dharma. That's very nicely defined in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jivera Sarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. That's the being the servant of Sri Krishna is the Nitya Dharma. But when it comes in contact with matter and material modes of material nature take over the soul, then Jiva forgets its original constitutional position and makes itself the center of it. And it's very nicely described by Bhakti Thakur in Jaya Dharma. It's Namitika Dharma. He gives very wonderful example of water. That how waters, we can understand, that a water original position, in its original position, its dharma is liquidity. That's very fluid, liquid. But when it comes in the contact of cold weather, the cold temperature, then it transforms and it becomes solid. The original position now is gone. It looks like, no, if the catalyst of lower temperature is removed, then water will go back to its nitya dharma, its liquidity. But as long as it is in the contact of the catalyst, which is in this case lower temperature, it will be in its conditioned position. So similarly, the jivas, when they are in the contact of material nature, they are following their nemitika dharma. That position is called nisarga, and it feels like that's the original position, but that's not. Yeah. And everyone, right from the topmost living entity to the lowest of the living soul, is under the influence of material nature in this material world. 18.40 says that there is no being existing either here or among the demigods who is outside the purview of this material nature. Now, what's the problem of being in the material nature, under the influence of material nature? The problem is that we forget our nitya dharma. And because of that, we are going through the miseries of life. We are able to not transcend that. What are the miseries of life? First, there are 4 problems: no? Birth, old age, disease, and then death. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. And then there are these 3 miseries which are imposed by demigods, other living entities, and then self. Adi Devi, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatma. So what to do? Because Krishna is the Supreme Father, He loves us. No? So He gave yoga, the system of yoga. By following the system of yoga, our actions can be changed and we can transcend the modes of material nature. And when we transcend the modes of material nature, we remove the catalyst which is causing us to be in the conditioned state of life. We got into the conditioned state of life because we wanted to be the enjoyer. And it's very nicely explained in the Shastra that happened, outside the purview of this material world. And that's why it's called since time immemorial. Time is a factor which is in the creation, which is in the material world. It's not in the spiritual world. So that's why, because this, and the jiva doesn't bring the history, but on after that it starts, through its karma, it starts accumulating all these bondages and then suffers through it. It's very nicely was discussed by Govindani Mataji and Kalini Mataji yesterday. So Krishna gives this system of yoga through Bhagavad Gita. Now, what is yoga? There are many definitions, and then it's kind of, we also celebrate Yoga Day. Ideally, Gita Jayanti should be celebrated as Yoga Day. But there are many definitions of, and many perverted definitions of yoga. Anyone wants to say? I know, just to make it interactive, I'm asking this, that what does yoga means? Somebody wants to help me here. Maybe 1 or 2 devotees, a word or 2.
To connect.
Thank you, Natalie. Yes, connect, union. That's anyone else?
To align the mind, body, and soul with the divine.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Roshni Mataji, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. I'm just here.
I'm always amazed with your thought process. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think that's very nicely said. In fact, Prabhupada says that the process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. So yoga is, as Mataji said, that it's combining union. When I was young, I studied in Hindi medium, and then there problems were called yoga. Like, can you do this problem? Can you solve this mathematics problem? So, still, can you do this yoga? Can you do this sum? Like we say, can you do this sum? So, can you do this yoga? So, yoga. Krishna defines yoga as yoga karmasu kaushalam in Bhagavad Gita 2.50. What does that mean? What it means is that the perfection of the karma is called yoga. What is the perfection of karma? As you know, Roshni Mataji wonderfully said that, to align the mind, body, and soul with the Supreme. That alignment. So Prabhupada says that this yoga system can be compared to a ladder where everybody, in this material world is part of this ladder, right from the lowest of living entity with the animal propensity all the way to the topmost yogi. Can be compared to the yoga ladder. So now let's go and see that what are the different rungs of the yoga ladder, and we understand that what is the mentality, what's the mindset of people on these different steps of the yoga ladder, and what are their characteristics, how do they behave, and how will that help? That will help us identify that, where we are. Some of us are, in the position where we interact with people, and then we can help them, guide them. We can help ourselves. We can guide ourselves. When I was preparing for this session, I was reading through, say, wow, and then it actually gives a nice perspective. That okay, yes, this is how I'm behaving. That maybe I'm on this step of the yoga ladder, and this is what I can do. Just coming to me to move to the next step, because we all want to be at the top of the yoga ladder. So yoga ladder primarily has three major sections. One is at the bottom is when you are under the modes of material nature, and your propensity is to do the sense enjoyment. That's where you are primarily under the either animal life or karma kanda. This is a nice picture on the left of the yoga ladder. His Holiness Rumapad Maharaj has a very nice, essay, kind of essay, elaboration on that. I picked up from there. I really liked it. Then the second group is where the jiva has realized and wants to transcend the modes of material nature. Okay? And that's where karma yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Astanga Yoga come in picture. Astanga Yoga is right at the border, depending on your level in the Astanga Yoga, you can be either at the mode of just above the mode of these three modes of material nature, or you can be under. But the goal is now to transcend the modes of material nature. That's where these Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Astanga Yoga begin. And then beyond the modes of material nature is Bhakti Yogi at the top of the ladder. So I'll quickly go through, and then see that, what are the characteristics. And then if you have any observations or points you want to say, please feel free to stop me in between. So now another question may come up, that so we looked at that when you are under the mode of material nature, and then the second group is where you want to transcend the modes of material nature. How do we measure that? Am I moving up the ladder or not? Everybody wants to move up the ladder. Of course, want, and then the strong will, and then the actions are different, but at least, it's good that we want, at least want is there. Yeah. So the level of detachment which we show in our day-to-day life, day-to-day actions, that is the measure of whether we are moving up or down the ladder or not. The more, if you'll see, the lowest strung, the lowest step, rung of the ladder, animal life, very attached. There's no detachment as it. Okay. So animal life. Now, what's the characteristic of the animal life? There's unrestricted sense gratification. Now, one is that there are animals who fall into this category, but there is one very wonderful thing. Romapad Maharaj had mentioned wonderfully that this is a long form of the yoga ladder, but there is actually a shortcut to the yoga ladder as well. A shorter form of the express yoga ladder. I'll put that picture towards the end of this. But in that, from any of these steps, any of the rungs, the moment you come in contact with a devotee, and the amount of surrender you do, you can actually move up very quickly on this yoga ladder. I'll put that. But animal life. Now, in case of animal life, what's the characteristic? The mentality is that I am the center of all the enjoyments. Everything is about me. There's practically no detachment, and then no knowledge of scriptures, and acting by the instinct. Now, generally animals come in this category, but there are people whose actions are actually even lower than this. So, for example, we see that birds, they wake up early in the morning, they go do their chores, come back in the night, sleep in time. They don't eat more than needed. They don't defend, unless there is a need. They have a mating season to procreate. But if you see humans, we eat more than we need. Radhagovind Maharaj says that the eating habit should be that 1/4 should be the food, quarter of the space should be filled with water, and the remaining quarter should be left alone for the air circulation. That's the right way of eating, I think. But we eat till neck. There's no more space to shove it down. So that's lower than animals. You know? We see that uh, we are awake during the time of sleep and sleeping during the time of being awake. It's very difficult to wake up for Mangala Arati. No? Um, Amritanand Prabhu was very nicely glorifying uh, Jai Prakash Prabhu, that he goes for Mangala Arati every day. And he has been doing that since our temple moved to South Plainfield. That's wonderful. But we see that there are people who are like, there's no need of defense. Still, they are playing video games, and in that they are getting all these virtual characters attacking them, and then they are defending against that. And then there is no season of mating or procreation. So we see that humans are even below the animal life. So that's the characteristic, and then jivas who are on this rung of the yoga ladder. But that's something which Krishna doesn't like. Krishna is the supreme father. No, there are people who will say, no, Ishwaro aham bhogi siddhoham balvana sukhi. 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna says, no, I'm Ishwara, let me be Ishwara. So we are not ready. So let me give you something using which you can at least have restricted amount of sense enjoyment. So that's where he gives Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda is regulated sense gratification. What does regulated sense gratification means? Okay, fine. Um, you want to do sense gratification. Nice. Everyone wants to have nice body, no wealth. Durga Sapsati has Rupam Dehi, Jayam Dehi, Yasho Dehi, Bal Buddhi Vidya Dehi, Harahu Kalesh Vikar. Okay, fine. Do these prayers, do these austerities, then it will give you. So this, as Prabhupada explains very nicely, actually, that um, when people are actually going through this austerity, there's some amount of penance, some amount of austerity at the karma kanda level. You start offering, you start doing some oblations, some sacrifice to demigods. Not here also. The big difference is that intention is not to transcend. Intention is still sense gratification, but through um, the proper channels under the law. No, like you know, um, you see in America, certain states have uh, um, you know, there's a they have legalized ganja. Now that doesn't mean that government wants you to have, but okay, fine. If you're like, if it's unregulated anyway, people are having it. So let's regulate, make it available so that those who will have anyway have it. So they have the right quality. In India, we see, Deshi Sarab, Deshi Sarab ki dukaan. Sarkar manyata prapt. Now that doesn't mean that government wants you to drink. That means that, there's certain section of people who will anyway drink, so let them have the right quality, so that they don't die they don't create other nuances, they don't get in trouble and then cause havoc in their family. So that's why. not the liquor made of gutter water and then unhygienic. So that doesn't mean that government wants people to start taking up drinking. No, it's so similarly. It's Krishna who's, says in Bhagavad Gita 3.1, Devan bhavayata tena te deva bhavayantuva parasparam bhavayanta shreya parmavapasyastha. The demigods being pleased by the sacrifice will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So Krishna is giving this option that, okay, fine, you want to have prosperity, you want to have fame, you want to have good wife, good husband, sola somar karo, fine, yes, that's the section of the Vedas which is called Karma Kanda. Focus is still on the sense gratification, but Prabhupada explains very nicely that there is actually a very nice benefit of this. What's the benefit of this? It says Veda say ahara suddhau sattva suddhi sattva suddhau dhruva smriti smriti lambhe sarva granthinam vipramoksha. Ahara suddhau, first by offering these sacrifices, the food item is being sanctified. And by eating the food item, sanctified food item, what is happening? Body is getting sanctified. The thought process is getting sanctified. And with that, okay, people are then moving away from the animal propensity, thinking about, who am I? Atato brahma jigyasa. And then taking up the or aspiring for higher thinking, transcending the modes of material nature. So that's what is karma kanda. It is sense gratification by the law. After that, after karma kanda comes Sakam Karma Yoga. Now, Karma Yoga is where, now this is where we actually, Jiva is thinking about moving beyond the modes of material nature. At least the goal has, there is detachment, there is attachment, but the goal has become that I want to transcend. So there are two types of karma, but the center or the mode using which they want to achieve this transcendence is through karma activities. Okay. So that's why there are two categories of it. One is, and then that's based on the attachment. So you remember at the beginning of the slides, I said that how do we measure we are moving above the modes of above the yoga ladder? So in case of animal life, we had no detachment, but when as a karma kandi, you have some amount of austerity, penance. There is some amount of at least detachment. Not exactly detachment. There is still sense gratification, but at least you're on the right path. Okay. When yoga comes, there is attachment plus detachment also has started. Karma yoga, detachment also has started. So what's the mentality of a Sakam Karma Yogi? I am attached to my work and the fruits are that I will get. I am the enjoyer of the fruits. Okay? And work is directed towards transcendence. What they are thinking that, okay, I will do good and something good will happen. That's also the thinking in the Karma Kandi. But what's the difference? Here, the focus becomes Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme. There, That's the only difference. Very subtle difference, but slowly we are bringing the supreme in the center. Now, what does Krishna says about Sakam Karma Yoga in Bhagavad Gita? Sa yagya praja sashtva purovacha prajapati anena prasavasya vaddha esha vau asta ishta kamaduka. In the beginning of the creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice, because this performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." You see, the Karma Kanda verse which I quoted, that also was about being happy by the sacrifice. And here also in the Sakam Karma Yoga, also we are talking about the same. The difference is that as a Karma Kandi, your sacrifices are centered around demigods, and here it's about Vishnu. And the moment we bring Vishnu in, what Vishnu, what Krishna does, the moment we bring him in picture, Yoga Chema Vahamya. What you lack, I bring, and what you have, I preserve. We have seen numerous examples of this, that when somebody prays for the material benefits, but the moment he'll have, if he's praying to Supreme Lord Krishna, then the desire, the hankering goes away. No? See this in case of Dhruva Maharaj. That when he saw Supreme Lord, he wanted a kingdom bigger than his Pitama, Brahma. No? But when he saw Supreme Lord, he said, "I don't want any of that. I don't want." So that's the difference. When we pray to demigods, what happens? No, we get the benefits. We become happy. We get get what we wanted, but our hankering lust increases. But when we are praying to the Supreme Lord, He brings it in such a way that your hankering, your lust will go away. He'll give you in such a way, he'll think. Acharya has explained that it's like, if a kid has, his teeth is rotten because of eating too much sweet. If he asks for more sweet from his father will not give. A visiting uncle will give him. It's okay. No, let him eat. But father knows that, he'll suffer if I give him this. So father knows what to give, what not to give. So same is the case with demigods and Krishna. Krishna knows what to give, what not to give, but demigods will be just pleased and will. So that's Sakam Karma Yogi. Next is, after Sakam Karma Yogi, is Niskam Karma Yogi. Now, what's the mentality of Niskam Karma Yogi? I am attached more to work than to Krishna. So Niskam Karma Yogi is not worried about the fruits, but he's still, or she's still attached to the work. And what's the detachment level? Aims for liberation and understands that I am the soul and not the body. No? And what's the distinguishing characteristic? Attachment to the fruits that come from work related to the transcendence. No? It's not purely like in case of Karma Kandi. Now, how do we understand when I go to temple and then my thought process says that, well, yes, I want to give this donation, and in that, by giving that donation, if uh, I get this picture, I want to buy this picture. That's Sakam Karma Yogi. Or I want a place in the my business should be advertised in the calendar, or um, I will get a place for a stall and then I can sell few goodies. That's a, that's when I understand. Okay, I am a Sakam Karma Yogi because I am I want to donate. I want to help temple. I want to. I mean, who am I to help temple? But just saying that thought process is like that, and then I want to. But in that average, I want to have some fruit. So that's a Sakam Karma Yogi. Now, if I go to temple and I want to cook for Krishna. I love cooking and I want to cook for Krishna. I love writing books and I want to write poetry. I want to write a book to glorify Krishna. I want to write a blog to glorify Krishna. Then you are a Niskam Karma Yogi. You're not attached to the fruits. You are attached to the work. Now, there's very subtle difference that let's say that I go for cooking, okay, and then because I love cooking and I want to today make wonderful dishes for Krishna. So that's. But if somebody comes and says, Prabhuji, there are so many vessels left, can you please clean up? Sorry, that's not my work. I love cooking. You get somebody else for cleaning up the pots. So I know then that I am a Nishkam Karma Yogi. I don't want anything out of cooking, but at the same time I am attached to my work. Okay? That's Nishkam Karma. If but a bhakt, how will a bhakt do? A bhakt will go and see that, oh, Krishna is hungry. Let me make some wonderful dishes for Krishna. Oh, there are pots to be cleaned. Let me go and then clean it. Oh, floor is dirty. Let me go get a broom, wipes. Do some cleaning here. So here the devotee is not attached to the work. He's attached to Krishna. He's doing it for Krishna. So that's the subtle difference between Sakam Karma Yogi, Nishkam Karma Yogi, and a Bhakt. So, and Krishna gives this direction to all those who are Sakam Karma Yogis. Yat karoshi yat agnashi, very famous verse. Yat jihosi dadasi yat tapasvasya kaunteya tad kurusha madarpana. Whatever you do it for me. There's similar, very nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, second canto. I think it's second chapter. Sukadeva Goswami is describing about which devata to worship to get what. But at the end of it, he nicely explains to Parikshit Maharaj that akama sarv kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogina yajeta purusham param. So he's saying that whether you have desire or no desire, whether you have material desire or transcendental desire, any kind, whatever it is, yajet, what do you do? Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta, worship purusham param, worship the Supreme Lord. Okay. So a person who has broader intelligence, whatever he be, full of all material desire, without any material desire or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole. the Supreme Personality of God. So that's Niskam Karma Yogi. After Niskam Karma Yogi comes Jnana Yoga. Now, Jnana means knowledge, we all know. Jnani. In Bhagavad Gita, a lot of places, it's also Sankhya Yoga, analytical study. So a Jnani is the one who does the analytical study of something. So when a Jnani is doing the analytical study of matter, he becomes just Jnani. But when the Jnani starts thinking about the spiritual stuff, then he becomes Jnana Yogi. Now, a Jnana Yogi is also called Brahmavadi because his purview is still the Brahman realization, and ultimate goal is to merge into the Brahman. So aims to merge into the mentalities, aims to merge into Brahman, knows and is firmly situated that there is Brahman. Jnani Yogi is detached from the karma and fruits, is not attached to the karma, not attached to the fruits, but there is still intention to merge into the Supreme Brahman. Sometimes Prabhupada says that these jnanis are actually, he says that it's the height of the sense gratification, highest form of sense gratification, that you want to go and merge into the Supreme Brahman and do nothing. That's the highest level of sense gratification. Okay? But it's at least Jnani is inquiring and then is on the path of transcendence, wants understand that I'm not this body, I'm the soul, and actually after this, Jnani has the knowledge and the detachment, so is on the right path of transcending the modes of material nature. But at the same time, Prabhupada explains that there is a fear that this Jnani, the Sankhya Yogi, Jnani Yogi, has a may get attached to the knowledge. That knowledge attachment may come. But what does Bhagavad Gita says about Jnana Yogi? Gata sangasya muktasya jnana avasthita chetasa yagyaya charta karma samagram pravi liyate. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge. Sometimes, it becomes very subtle. The difference is very subtle, and it's more about intention and then detachment level. Okay, between, for example, Jnani and Niskam Karma Yogi. Niskam Karma Yogi and Jnani. There is, in fact, there is a verse which translates. I mean, this notes. I'm just reading the translation. It's 5.4 verse number. That only the ignorant speak of devotional service, that's Karma Yoga, as being different from the analytical study of material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. Actually, in this context, Burijan Prabhu wonderfully explains in Surrender Unto Me that Prabhupada um, did not entertain any Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Astanga Yoga, which did not have Bhakti attached to it. So we'll see that I was very confused. Remember this anecdote. We were still in MVCC, and then one day Madhupati Prabhu was giving class, and I asked him, and that's like, um, made it so clear. I asked him about yoga and then karma yoga, and then can you explain and how do I do it? And he explained it so wonderfully. Like what Prabhupada has mentioned, that karma yoga, what we studied, what we just looked at, it was more general of it. But the way Prabhupada explains karma yoga is a devotee can do karma yoga, jnana yoga, astanga yoga, any of this. Devotee knows very expertly that how to utilize. So what Madhupati Prabhu explained was that, okay, you go to work, you get some money, you bring that money home. Now you have altar at home, you prepare some from that money you earn from work, you get some offerings, you prepare nice bhoga for the Lordship, offer it to him, and um, that's karma yoga. Then the rent you pay, the grocery shopping you do, the office you go, um, the lunch being prepared for the office, all that becomes suddenly, uh, bhakti, karma yoga, devotional service. So now from Jnana Yoga, we go to Astanga Yoga. Now, what does Astanga Yoga mean? Astanga Yoga is, there are the eightfold. Um, the intention is Paramatma. Now, in a Jnana Yoga, the highest Jnana Yogi wants to achieve is Brahman realization. But what does Astanga Yogi wants to achieve is Paramatma realization. Now, depending on the level of the purity, can go either to Brahman realization or go to the Paramatma realization. Okay, but what is added here is that beyond. So a Jnana Yogi had knowledge as well as detachment. Astanga Yogi brings in knowledge as well as detachment plus meditation. Now is then there is eightfold processes: yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. This is the purificatory process. Now these processes are very difficult. Um, Arjuna asks in Bhagavad Gita that it's very difficult to control mind, and you're giving me all these processes to control my mind and then withdraw my senses. Okay? And the purport, Prabhupada explains that by withdrawing senses is not possible. It's like mind is like a charioteer, and then our senses are pulling the chariot, and it takes over intelligence. Takes over intelligence. Sometimes we know our intelligence says that yes, this is wrong, but mind is so powerful, it doesn't let us do that, or still makes us commit that mistake. Um, so, and then that perverted form of that Astanga Yoga, it's not possible in this age to do that. And then the perverted form of that Astanga Yoga is being sold by all these asana yoga clubs, and its supreme purpose is to connect with, become union, serve Lord, but is being used for sense gratification. So let's see what's the characteristics of Astanga Yogi. That mentality is, if pure, then I want to see Paramatma, I am his servant. That's the mentality. But if it's impure, then I want Siddhi and merge with Paramatma. Now this is where, like in Jnana Yogi, the problem is that a Jnani may get attracted to the knowledge. Similarly, in Astanga Yogi may get attracted to um, the siddhis. Um, Detachment is our modes of material nature and detached from the fruits and activity. Okay. And then the distinguished characteristics we saw is that is more focused on the eightfold processes of Ashtanga. Now there are two levels of Ashtanga Yogi: Aruruksha and Yoga Rudha. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for the one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. In one, it's work, and in another, the cessation of the work. Now we already discussed, what does cessation of work actually means. Karma, vikarma, akarma. So wonderfully already discussed. Having a looking at the clock. So from Astanga Yoga, next we go to Bhakti Yoga. Okay. This will be very elaborately discussed today. Just preparing the ground, as I said, so that we can actually discuss Bhakti Yoga. Hari Kishore Prabhu will do that. But in quickly, Bhakti Yoga is when the center of Jiva brings Supreme Lord in the center. Now, it's not that, okay, let me prepare food so that I can eat. No, it's, oh, my Laddu Gopalji, my Shyam Sundar is hungry, let me prepare food and then have it as prasad. So, Krishna says, when Arjuna asked that, out of all these yogis you have described, who is the topmost? Krishna says, Yogi Nam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhaste yomam same yukta tamo mata. Yukta tamo madgatan antaratmana. The one, Yogi Nam api sarvesham, among all these yogis, madgaten antaratmana, the one who is inside, is thinking about me, and shraddhavan bhaste yomam. Shraddhavan means with love, devotion. Bhajte yomam, serving me. Swame yukta tamomata. He is the topmost yogi in my knowledge. So that's more like, the yoga ladder, and then what's the mentality of a bhakti yogi, all the way to animal life, and we discuss what's their detachment level. Okay. I mentioned that towards the beginning that there's an express yoga ladder. So anyone at any of the rungs of the yoga ladder can move directly to the bhakti yoga ladder. That's express yoga ladder. What is how do you do that? It happens only when that person comes in contact with a pure devotee. And then surrenders. That's the final instruction in Bhagavad Gita as well. Sarvadharman Paritajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tam Sarvapapebhyo Mokshishyami Ma Shuchah. So we have seen numerous examples are there, where, for example, from animal life, we see the Gajendra Moksha. Krishna came directly. The Gajendra is animal. Hanumanji, in Vanar. Garud is a bird. So, similarly, we see that Gyani, Keshav Kashmiri, came in contact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and immediately transcended to the Bhakti Yoga. So right here, I would like to stop. Quickly wanted to glorify Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Ramapat Swami Maharaj, Grace Bhorijan Prabhu, and Grace Bala Govinda Prabhu. That they have explained very nicely this yoga ladder, and I was able to just as a puppet or a parrot say, and I hope that I didn't say or act in a way that forgive my mistakes if I did. With that, Hari Kishore Prabhu, are you there? And then over to you. If while Prabhuji is bringing it up, if anyone wants to share any reflections or comments, please go ahead. Okay, Hari Krishna Prabhu, over to you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Second, let me share my screen. Share screen. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu. You have neatly and smoothly walked us through the whole yoga ladder. You have done most of the work, so that relieves me and takes the pressure out of me to speak now. Thank you, Prabhuji, and I really appreciate the way you pulled it around, nicely, smoothly, without a lot of excitement. Not a lot of excitement, a lot of showing. You did nicely, the way you took over, everything was very nice. So thank you very much. And now it's an easy job, I think, for me. So I'll pray to the Vaishnavas. I'll pray to the Guru Parampara through the Mangalacharan. Then I'll take up here to explain a little bit about Bhakti Yoga. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tashmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So first of all, could someone confirm that my voice is audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I'm trying to fix this light, which is falling on my face, so I think it is fine now. Okay. First of all, gratitude, or I'm very thankful to Madhupati Prabhu for giving this opportunity. through this learning, or actually today what I'm going to present is just for my purification. And I have to share that, for the last 4 to 5 days, this was in my mind. The process, or like what I have to speak, this was all going on. So this is all because of the mercy of Madhupati Prabhu. If not, it would not have happened. So see, when you try to say, you, me learning myself for my knowledge is different than me trying to present it to the audience or present it to the devotees who already know most of it. So I mean, I should be careful of like what I speak or what I say. So I was meditating upon that, and in that process, my mind was completely occupied throughout all these 4 to 5 days. Like, what I have to say, what I have to bring it to the table, what I have to give something, so that everyone can relish it. They already know all this stuff, but they should relish. So that's what the thinking process was going on. And it was like a process where I was getting purified internally. So thank you, Madhupati Prabhu. And also, thanks to all the Vaishnavas. Whatever I am presenting here is basically already spoken at many places. And this is just, we are, as Akhilesh Prabhu beautifully quotes it as, we are parrots, we just, parrot it out. Basically, it's all there, and we just represent. I mean, at least I'm representing here. So, without any further ado, let's start with the Bhakti Yoga. So, the concept or the topic we discussed, Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu and I discussed, was like, I can go a little deep in Bhakti Yoga because this is what is required for the devotees. So, and he can go over all the yoga ladder and he'll complete the yoga ladder. So, that's where we got up with this. The concept is like now, I'm going to talk about a Bhakti Yoga, and we'll go a little deep into Bhakti Yoga. So the main source of what I'm speaking today comes from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. And also there are many variations which were with the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. There is a Nectar of Devotion book, and also from the different versions of Nectar of Devotion, like Waves of Devotion from His Holiness Dhanudhara Swami Maharaj, and others. Like, there is another one from His Holiness Bhanuswami Maharaj. I referred few of them from there. So that being said, what is Bhakti Yoga, right? So Prabhuji clearly mentioned the yoga was defined, and Roshini Mataji nicely defined yoga. I didn't even put that. So the yoga is basically aligning your mind, soul, and body to the with the Lord, right? So that are connecting. Yoga means yujjate anena iti yogaha, meaning yoga is that which connects or joins or binds or unites. Okay, so in Bhakti Yoga, what are we joining with, or what are we connecting with? That is, we are connecting with the Lord through the Bhakti. Bhajate. Bhakti means bhajan. So, so with the Bhakti, we are trying to connect it to the Lord. So now, Sri Narada Muni defines Bhakti in Narada Pancharatra as Sarvophadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. So Bhakti Ruchate, Bhakti means, or Bhakti is all these qualities. What are those qualities? Sarvophadi Vinirmuktam, Sarva Upadi, all kinds of designations, Vinirmuktam, free of. You are out of those designations. So what is a designation? Yesterday in one, I think Govinda Nandini Mataji explained about the designations we have on the body. Like, I'm a father, I'm an engineer, I'm a CEO of a company, I am the president of the country. So all these designations, I am Indian, everything, like, any designation, Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam. So free of all these designations. That is the first quality we need for bhakti. In the definition of bhakti, that is one of the things, right? And the second one is Tat Paratvena, complete surrender. Like, Tat Paratvena means by sole purpose of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that bhakti, whatever you perform, should be, the sole purpose of that bhakti should be serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Nirmalam. Nirmalam means Another, again, uncontamination, purifying yourself from what? Speculation, speculative philosophical research, and or like speculative knowledge, like free of knowledge and a fruity activity. So Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu mentioned about karma kanda, karma yoga, Jnana Yoga. So these, your the one who is a bhakta or a devotee or one to perform a bhakti, you should be out of these speculations, Jnana Yoga, or you should be out of this fruity activity. So you're getting out of that. So that is the third requirement for bhakti. And the fourth one is Hrishikena, Hrishikesha Sevanam. Sevanam is service. So how are you serving? You are serving the Supreme Personality of God. Hrishikesha is the Hrishika Isha, the one who is the controller or the um, controller of senses. Yeah, controller of the senses is Hrishikesha. So that Hrishikesha, you serve Sevanam through Rishikena with our senses. So all the senses should be engaged in the service of Rishikesha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why Srila Prabhupada, whenever it comes to bhakti, Srila Prabhupada defines it as devotional service. It doesn't like lot of times you don't see the word as devotion. Srila Prabhupada quotes most of the times as devotional service, because bhakti is a service. It's a devotional service, right? So to recap, Srila Narada Muni defined bhakti as sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchate. Bhakti means you should be free from all the designations. The sole purpose of that act should be to for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you should be out of two things, karma and jnana, purity, impurities. You should get out of that. You should be free from those two things, and the purpose of that bhakti should be serving the Rishikesha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with all the senses. Okay, so that is Bhakti Yoga. Now we spoke a lot. Actually, it's been last 1 hour, more than 1 hour, 1 hour 5 minutes, 1 hour 10 minutes. We spoke about lot of things, and Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu has beautifully pulled it out. So now the thing is like, I think we need a break at this point, and I want to go into I want to take out from this theoretical process, and I want to tell you a story, right? So this is very interesting story, beautiful story. The story is about a devotee, right? A bhakta, and how he attracted the Lord. Okay, so let's talk about this story. The story is um, from 1600s. So this is from 1600s. There was a person called as Bandhu Mohopadhyaya, sorry, Bandhu Mohanty. So Bandhu Mohanty used to live in Jajpur town, that's in Odisha. Okay, so this Bandhu Mohanty is is a great devotee of the Lord. He always thinks about the Lord, and as devotees, he was not interested to any other work except remembering the Lord or smaranam. He was always thinking about the Lord. So he had his wife and 3 children. So how they were living? So they were living on begging. They used to beg on a daily basis. Actually, Bandhu used to beg on a daily basis, and whatever they used to get, it's not like they have demands of, okay, I need this. No, he was very much contented. Bandhu was very much contented. Whatever they get for that day, they eat. Some days they get some food, some days they don't get some food, but they're contented, they're happy. Whatever, sometimes they get puri halwa, sometimes some days they get some khichdi, some rice without sabji, dal, but he was contented. So at one point of time in 1600s, in that area, in Jajpur area, there was a famine or drought. The phenomenon, the symptom of not having rain for long time is called as famine or drought, right? We all know that. So when the drought came in, people didn't have any lands, or their agriculture was not successful, so they didn't have food for themselves. So what would they give to Bandhu? He goes for begging. He never used to get food. No food. He was okay. But his wife was very much upset with this situation. One day she went to Bandhu and told him, "Hey Bandhu, you've been in this world for so many years, like you're about mid-age, 30, 40 years. Don't you have even a single friend in this world who gives you some food? Now, some food for the children, forget about us, at least for the children. They are they haven't eaten for days now. So how can you, do you have a friend?" Then Bandhu said, yes, I have one friend. He's very rich, very, very rich, and very, very magnanimous. He's very merciful. Then she got shocked, and she told Bandhu, how, if you have a rich friend, why didn't you ever go and ask him for some food? What made you not to go to him? He said, I didn't want to disturb him. Then she said, no, you have to do it now. This is the time. Children are hungry for many days, you know. So please tell me, where is your friend? He says, my friend is in Puri. So Jajpur to Puri is about, I don't remember exact kilometers, but it's in hundreds of kilometers distance. So Bandhu's wife forced him and asked him to go to take him to the rich friend, because they don't have food anyway. So they said, okay, let's go, all family, all five of us, let's go to Puri, Jagannath Puri. So they all walked for 4 days to Jagannath Puri. They reached there, and at the when they reached in Puri, Bandhu took them to the Jagannath temple. The moment they went to the temple, Bandhu saw that there are hundreds of devotees trying to take darshan. Like, they have lined up at the eastern gate, Simhesvara of Jagannath Puri temple. And they're all lined up to get in there, and soldiers were letting one by one inside. Then Bandhu said that the situation or the condition they were in, Bandhu and his family, they have torn clothes. They have walked for 4 days. Now think about that. They didn't have food for so many days. So he was thinking they may not even let us in. So they took the darshan of Patita Pavana Jagannath right there at the Simhesvara from outside. They paid obeisances to the Lord, and he asked his family members to walk through. He didn't say, like, his wife didn't know like where they came. They saw. I mean, he said that it's a god, so they paid obeisances and they went through, and they went across the temple towards the southern gate, right? Southern gate of the temple. Now, his wife was wondering, Bandhu, you said that you have a rich friend in Jagannath Puri. Then why are you just roaming around here? Why don't you take us to the temple? I'm sorry, to your rich friend. Why? Where is he? Then Bandhu says that, my friend has hundreds of guests today. My friend is busy with them. So I don't want to disturb him at this point. So let's do one thing. We'll go tomorrow. We'll rest here. We'll take some rest here. And tomorrow morning we'll go there. Then they walked in, and there is at the southeast corner. So they walked from east side of the temple to the south, towards the south. And in the southeast corner, there is a kitchen of Lord Jagannath's kitchen. Lord Jagannath's kitchen is one of the largest or the biggest kitchens in the world, right? So they cook prasadam for lakhs of people on a daily basis in that kitchen. So now the point is, like, they are walking around across from outside. They're not inside the temple. They're outside the temple walls, and they're walking through. And when the rice cooked from that kitchen, when you cook a rice, you get a starch, right, which you throw off normally. So that rice is thrown into a place, Pejanala. So they found that Pejanala with full of starch. So Bandhu was a little happy, somehow we got something to drink at least. So he collected some broken pot right there, and he picked up some starch out of that Pejanala and gave it to his wife and children, and also he drank something, and they found a corner to rest for that evening. Okay, so when they rested there for the evening, his wife was not very much happy with the situation, because she was expecting to see a rich person and get some food, some opulent food. Then somehow she was adjusted. She said, all these days I have waited, so one more day, why not? So she was, and children were also, they at least got some starch to drink, and they drank and sat down there. Now Bandhu was sitting there. By seeing the pitiable situation of his family, he started praying to the Lord Jagannath. Hey Lord, I always treated you as my friend, right? You are the only friend I have. You are Patita Pavana, Dina Bandhu. You are the merciful God who gives mercy even to the Dina, the lowest or the fallen people, fallen souls. So, Lord, and on the other side, you are the maintainer of this whole world. Each and every bird, animal, they are living and they are getting food. How are they getting food if you don't give that food to them? My Lord, I am also one of those living beings, and my family and me are those one of those living beings. Please give us some mercy, and show us some karuna, some mercy on us. So he was thinking in those terms. If you see, right, Lord is the his words are true. Lord is the Lord of the whole world. Isha vashyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. So Isha vashyam, he's a controller. He's the Lord of. He's avasham. He's under his control. Every living being is living. He maintains them. Jagatyam jagat, in the whole universe, moving or non-moving, is under his control. So that is what he was remembering, and he was appreciating the Lord and requesting him to give, some shelter for them. Now, when devotee prays like that, right? What would God do? Inside, even though he was in the Sri Kshetra, inside he was about to, they made him rest, and they I mean, pujaris or the pandas, they put him to rest, but he was restless. He got up, he was started walking, like he started brisk walking, and he was getting restless. He was thinking, what happened? My devotee who came walking all the way for 4 days from somewhere is now sleeping without food, that too in Jagannath Puri Dham. The one who came on a faith that I'll protect him. So he's sleeping with empty stomach. How can I sleep like this? And he could not control. He could not control. He came out. He brought his own plate. Jagannath. I got to know that Jagannath is served his bhoga in a big golden plate. All kinds of very beautiful, all kinds of all courses of food they serve him, bhogas they serve him at Jagannath Puri. So he picked up his own plate from Ratna Bandar. He went directly to the kitchen. He picked up some kichri, malpo, dry fruits, everything he picked up, put them in the plate, nicely filled up, and he turned into a Brahmin. He took a form of a Brahmin, normal panda, and he went out of the southern gate, and he started calling out, Bandhu, Bandhu, oh Bandhu, who is Bandhu here? No, he was calling out. Then Bandhu was listening to that words, and he was thinking, there are hundreds of people here, and there may be like few bandhus. Who would call me? I have no friends here. No, who would call me? So he ignored that words, and he was sleeping. Then the Lord went close to him and said, Bandhu. Then he got up and said, he was certain now that it was for him. The call is for him. He got up and said, yes sir, yes sir. Are you calling for me? Yes, yes. It seems, are you Bandhu? He said, yes, I'm Bandhu. Yes, your friend has sent this food stuff, this prasadam for you. He was very much concerned that you haven't eaten and your family is sleeping here, right? He gave the whole golden plate filled with food, the golden plate which he himself take prasadam, right? So wait a minute. Are we? Did we say that Lord got restless? Let's rewind back a little bit, right? So we said that Bandhu prayed to the Lord, and Lord got restless. Lord of the universe, right? He is not a normal personality. He is the Lord of the universe. He has millions of servants, he has demigods. Um, Indra, Chandra, Brahma, they bow down to him with their shining crowns touching his lotus feet. That kind of a Lord, gets restless when a devotee calls for him, right? When a person calls for him. Is that true? Yes, that is true. Why? How? We can see that here, right? Let's take some examples. So this is this is a Bandhu. Lord in the Brahmana form, giving the foodstuff to Bandhu. So let's take some examples here, right? So that same Lord, when Gajendra, he called for the Lord. Gajendra was stuck in the river, and the crocodile has grasped his his feet, and they fought for thousands of years. There was there was nothing happening. So finally, Gajendra realized, and he remembered his past life, and he started praying to the Lord by offering a lotus flower. Right? Do you see the lotus flower? Then Krishna or Vishnu just forget everything and started rushing through towards the Gajendra. Right? He Garudena. Um, the verse is Garudena. He uses the Garuda to come in, and some acharyas mentioned that at one point, Garuda, if you remember, Garuda travels with the speed of mind. Speed of mind is very, if you calculate the speed of mind, it is unimaginable. We can just think and we can go there. If the Garuda travels with the speed of mind, okay. So now the question is, Lord is thinking that this Garuda himself is also slow. My devotee is calling me, and this Garuda is running slow. So let me jump off him and myself go. So if you see the picture here, right? So so Acharyas mentioned that he left Garuda himself and he jumped out of Garuda to reach quickly towards Gajendra to save him. Okay. So that is one example. The second example is when Prahlad Maharaj was in anxiety. He had many instances. Krishna came in the form of different forms and protected him. And finally, he killed Hiranyakashipu to protect his devotee, Prahlad. Right? So we all know that story. So, and the third example I want to give is when Draupadi was in the Vastraharan scenario, in that assembly of Kurus, Draupadi was being disrobed. When she called Krishna, Krishna was in Dwaraka at that point of time, but he still sent he appeared there and he protected her honor. So that is the Lord we are talking about. Now the question is, in the case of Bandhu, in the case of Gajendra, in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, in the case of Draupadi, countless cases like this, Krishna comes. Let's say that's the Udar Swabhava of Krishna. Okay, that is Krishna. What to do with all these things? Okay, Krishna is like that. But what makes Krishna, or what qualification? What is the qualification of these personalities or the devotees that makes Krishna come down for their activities, not for their protection? What is the qualification? Right? Srila Rupa Goswami gives a beautiful characteristics of a devotee or a bhakti. So the characteristics of bhakti or Bhakti Yoga is, one of the characteristics is Sri Krishna Akarshini. When you develop a Bhakti Yoga, or when you develop a bhakti or a devotion, it attracts Krishna. What do you mean by attracts Krishna? Attracting Krishna means Krishna can become restless. That's what we talked, right? How can Krishna become restless? Yes, Krishna becomes restless when the devotees in that higher stage of Bhakti Yoga, they call for protection. He just gets restless and he comes down to protect them. So, my dear devotees, that is today's subject, Bhakti Yoga. So let's talk about this, right? Let's go in detail what our acharyas mentioned and how can we attract Krishna with these features or characteristics. Okay, so now, as a part of so we talked about one of the characteristics of bhakti is Sri Krishna Akarshani. It attracts Krishna. Okay, So this is the highest stage of Bhakti Yoga. And when you are in the highest stage of Bhakti Yoga, it can attract Krishna himself. Okay. So we'll go one by one, different characteristics here. Okay. So the first characteristics Rupa Goswami mentions is basically the verse is Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Laguta Krit Shudurlabha Sandrananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Akarsini Chasa. Meaning, these are the 6 characteristics of Bhakti Yoga. First one is Klesha Agni. Klesha Agni means it removes all kinds of distress, material distress. And Rupa Goswami goes into detail of what kinds of distress we'll have. What is a distress and how do we get it, right? So we'll see that one. Okay, so klesha means distress, agni means which burns away or removes that klesha or the distress. Okay, bhakti can remove the material distress. So what is the cause of distress? The first or the root cause of distress is ignorance. What is the ignorance we have? As Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu mentioned in the beginning of the class, the soul, the primary duty of the soul or the primary nature of the soul is servant of the Krishna, right? So if we forget, if the soul forgets that that one quality of itself, like he's a servant of the Krishna or he's a servant of the Lord, then that is called as avidya or ignorance. Okay, with that ignorance we get this body, and with the body, for example, so with the body we get bijam, material desires erupt in that body, and from the material desires you perform some action that is called as papam or sinful sin. Then from that sin you have to have reactions. The action you perform is a sin, and the reactions you get are sufferings in the form of there are different forms of suffering. We'll talk about that. Okay, so how do we understand this? So the good example, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu explains this example nicely. So he mentions that let's take a child or a toddler, right? A toddler sees a candle right there and it has a fire on it, and that fire on the candle attracts a child. Okay, so the toddler doesn't have a knowledge of that fire or what is it, he doesn't know. That is ignorance in the part of a child. That's normal, natural. So when that avidya or ignorance is there, by seeing that light, he develops an attraction towards or a material desire, or a desire ever like erupts in his mind that, oh, let me catch that, or let me hold that, or let me touch that fire, right? So this toddler crawls towards that candle, tries to, like, he has a material desire now, that is bijam. The bijam has formed. He was ignorant and the bijam has formed. From the bijam, he wants to touch it or grab it or hold it. So that is an action he's performing. Okay, that is papam. So that is an analogy to papam. So he is performing that action. When he touches the candle, he gets burned. Then he starts crying. That is a suffering. Okay, so this is the process. This is the cause of distress. Okay, now Srila Rupa Goswami goes in more detail. Okay, so let's go into that. Next slide. So now, when Srila Rupa Goswami mentions that, quotes this verse from Narada Pancharatra, thanks to Govinda Nandini Mataji yesterday, she beautifully explained it yesterday. And I'm just going to touch up, I'm trying to see, the same thing I'm going to say here again. So basically, this is the verse Mataji explained. Na aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukam krameneva praliyate Vishnu bhakti rathatmanam, Narada Pancharatra. Okay, so from the avidya or the ignorance you got, right? Ignorance of what? Ignorance of not finding out your natural identity. The Jiver Swarup hai Nitya. Jiver Swarup hai, the the natural inclination or the natural identification of a jiva is a servant of the Lord. Okay, so Jiva Swarupe Krishna Nityadas. Yeah, that's the verse. Yeah, that's the point. Okay, so now, so that avidya can create, now can gives you a body. When the body is there, you get a sinful desire to perform some action. Okay, so from when the sinful desire comes in, I think you're able to follow this flow chart, right? So basically, when the sinful desire erupts in your mind, then that'll give kutam. Okay, kutam is, oh, sorry. I have to go up. So when the sinful desire comes in, then he performs an action. That action will take you to a prarabdha reaction. Okay. So the action which you have, or the by performing your sin, you get a prarabdha reaction. From aprarabdha, there are two stages. Okay. Please understand, there are two arrows here, two sides. One is prarabdha, where you have to take that suffering right away, prarabdha reaction. That means you have um, you have suffered in that right away, or in that life itself. Okay, but sometimes you have accumulated so much of prarabdha, right? Now so much of sinful actions you have performed, that that this life is not enough to take all that sufferings in one life. So that's where it goes to kutam, or as Mataji said, accumulation. Or it's kutam basically is accumulation or sinful proclivity. Proclivity means it's a tendency, or it's an attachment to perform some actions. Okay, from the kutam, from that sinful proclivity, or from that addiction, we can say, from that addiction, you get again that sinful desire comes in. From that sinful desire, from that sinful desire, again you do your action, you take action, that means again papam. So this cycle keeps on going, adding sins after sins after sins, life after life after life, right? So we are in a vicious cycle where we don't get out of this cycle. Okay, we do some kind of suffering from prarabdha, but that is not enough. That the amount of sins we perform, that they have like they have to put that in the storage, in the kutam, or that kutam is sinful proclaim, the addiction forms there. Okay, so the addiction forms there, and we keep repeating this life after life. Okay, some people say, right, hey, like when you say thief, why do you do this thievery? What's the need of this stealing? You have enough money. But he says that no, I don't want to do it, but still it happens. It just happens. I don't know how. So this is the reason. Kutam is the reason. That proclivity which you're carrying from life after life is there. Now some people say, like, now there are many examples like this, right? Let's say, for example, I mean, this whole concept can be explained using one example. Okay, the example I'm going to give is about a drunkard. Okay, let's say, uh, time check. Okay, I have time. So let's say there is a drunkard. A drunkard, I don't know if it's avidya, but with some ignorance or from some forceful activity, he got this habit of drinking. Okay, so when he drinks alcohol, okay, he develops some desire by seeing someone else, or maybe someone forced him in the beginning to drink. Then he perform a sinful activity of drinking an alcohol. Okay, so when he drinks that alcohol, then the reactions of that action will be a prarabdha, unmanifested form. So this unmanifested form has two reactions, right? So one is, and one can be, he'll feel dizzy, he'll feel hangover, right? I don't know if the right word. Yeah,
તો ખરો બહુ
dizziness.
મસ્ત છે.
Haribol? Yes. Okay. So he feels dizziness, headache, and hangover, and all those bodily sufferings. He does it right away, maybe the day after or the same day. So that is prarabdha. Okay, he's suffering from in the prarabdha situation. But still, we have to remember, if we have this habit of drinking alcohol, he may be losing his health also. That may not be available at that point of time. Okay, at that point of time, he doesn't have he doesn't have, he doesn't know that there is some disease building or some organs of this body is all are failing. That is aprarabdha. So that is in a unknown situation. This unmanifested reaction, it is still there. But because of this action of sinful action, he gains a proclivity or addiction to drinking. So when you get addicted, one day you drank, and the second day he goes for a second drink, and third day he wants to, hey, that was wonderful. Let's go one more time. The addiction, that habit of doing that action forms here. When that habit forms, if he forms a desire, the bija, when the desire forms, then he goes back to sinful action again, and he is in a cycle. Okay, so I hope I made sense here. Let me know if you have any questions at this point.
Good example. Thank you. Very good.
Thank you,
Very
Prabhu.
sure, bro.
So now let's go. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, now let's go to the next slide. So that is Kleshagni, right? So we saw how the Kleshagni or distress will be burned away. So why are we discussing all these things in this point? Now, what is the importance of this kutam, bijam, sinful reactions, actions? Because we are discussing this because one of the characteristics of this Bhakti Yoga is it can destroy all the stages of sinful reactions. Okay, what are the sinful reactions? See, the thing is, like, in the Shastras, it mentions that, let's say, if you perform some activities like karma kandas or some kind of activities, or some kind of like, if you please the demigods with your prayers, they can take out the prarabdha. For example, someone says that, hey, my shanigraha is very bad now. I have this going on. I can't get success in anything. It's a shani. So the astrologers will give you, okay, chant this mantra, or perform shani puja or something like that. So what happens with the shani puja is, this prarabdha which he was supposed to suffer, it will be postponed. It will be moved to the kutam, or it will be in the prarabdha stage, and that is not manifested. It will be postponed temporarily. Maybe the best case is maybe till the end of this birth. But whatever has formed, the sin has been sinned. That sin is not removed completely. What do you mean by completely removing? Removing completely means you are burning away everything, starting from whatever the unmanifested, unmanifested stage, or kutam stage, or bija stage. All these things should be burned away. That can be done only by bhakti. So Devahuti, Mother Devahuti, in Srimad Bhagavatam, she beautifully quotes one verse. She says that when you perform a devotional service or bhakti yoga, then all your she mentions one thing, like, all your aprarabdha or kutam, all these sins will be vanished, and you will directly jump into the ladder, as Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu explained, the express ladder. You jump into that, you get out of this ladder and you take the elevator. Okay, that is the Bhakti Yoga. So how you take that bhakti, like, what is an example? Srila Prabhupada quotes in that purport that, the example here is, we have so many disciples from America. They were all like, not in a very good position when they didn't meet me. Before they met Prabhupada, they were all in different positions. Like myself, forget about all those great personalities, but think about myself. I was like, normal guy. I used to eat meat. It's a normal regular family. So when you took to this Bhakti Yoga, the first rung is, it burns away all the sins, and it puts you in the express elevator. So this is what happens. But as I said, this is only possible. At least this kutam and bijam, these cannot be destroyed. Yes, these three, the papam, prarabdha, and aprarabdha can be removed by praying to different demigods. Okay, these three things can be removed, but without different demigods and different processes, but without, for example, do this austerity, you may get this thing. Do this austerity, fast for this day, fast this day, take a dip in Ganga, holy rivers. Then all this will be removed. That's true. The sinful actions will be removed. This prarabdha will be removed, but these two will not be removed. These two will be burned away. There are many verses, not many, in Srimad Bhagavatam also, there are like 3-4 verses I was going through. I didn't collect that for references, but yes, those verses explain how Srila Prabhupada explains how the bija and how the kutam, which is very dangerous for a personality. Because look, think about this, right? We removed all these three things, but we still have a sinful desire, or we still have that proclivity or addiction to perform that sinful action. Then the cycle restarts. That's a dangerous part here. This restarts again. This cycle forms. If you have bija, you form the papam, and then from papam comes again a prarabdha karma, which is unmanifested and manifested. And then it can some of you cannot fulfill or completely take the suffering in one life. So some will be pushed on to other lives. So this cycle can rebuild. So the only bhakti yoga, or the devotion to the Lord, can take away this completely. The whole cycle is being removed. Okay, so that is what Acharya says. That's why we were discussing here. Okay, that's the kleshagni, removes material distress from all levels, not only temporarily, but from all levels it will take you out. Now the second one is shubhada. Shubhada means provides all auspiciousness. Srila Rupa Goswami goes in details of what are the auspiciousness. There are 3 types of auspiciousness, providing opulence, different things. So this Bhakti Yoga, if you take to this Bhakti Yoga, it gives you the auspiciousness. And third one is moksha laguta krita. Moksha is liberation, right? When one is in this Bhakti Yoga, in this process of Bhakti Yoga, at certain stage, he see this liberation to be very trivial. Hey, what am I aspiring for? Liberation? No, that is nothing. So that is one of the qualities of bhakti. When the real identity of the soul is a servant of Krishna. If you are a servant of Krishna, you should do your service, not become liberated, becoming one with the Lord, or doing some other activities, right? So when you get that knowledge, when you are in that bhakti yoga, that moksha or the concept of liberation will become very trivial. Okay. And the one more characteristic of this, fourth characteristics of this bhakti is sudurlabha. It's very rare. Krishna says that there are thousands of people who takes this process, and out of those thousands, only one can reach me. Right? So it's very rare. It's very rare. It's not easy. It's very rare. Okay. The fifth one is Sandrananda Visheshatma. When you are in the bhakti, you get that condensed bliss. It's complete bliss. If you see, let's say for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who Krishna came in, he was in a bliss. Forget about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So let's take another example of Haridas Thakur. He was in bliss. There, these mlechas were beating him up at 28 different marketplaces, and he was not moved. He was still in bliss. Prahlad Maharaj, he was put into torture on a day-to-day basis, both physically and mentally. Please remember, he's a 5-year-old child going through so much. Who is doing that? Not anyone from outside or externally. It's his own father, the one who is supposed to provide him the pure love or the love to the child. He is treating him or trying to torture him in all the ways, all the worst ways possible in this earth, right? So he was being tortured mentally and physically, but this devotee was not even moved. Why? Because of this Sandarananda Visheshatma. He was in that condensed bliss. That is the pure form of bliss, which is not available for others, like for other process, other rungs of the ladder we talked about. No, it's not possible. It's not available for them. Okay. And we saw the Krishna Karshani. It attracts Krishna. Bandhu. He's a devotee. He just called, and Krishna gets all this stress, He called, he prayed, he went to sleep. But inside, Jagannath is getting restless. Oh, my devotee is not eating. He has not eaten. He prayed for me. What should I do? That is the quality. It attracts. It moves the Lord. Lord is the Lord of the universe. But that universe, that Lord of the universe can do anything. But when it comes to his devotee, when someone prays for him, he cannot sustain, or he cannot just sit quiet and see or watch. He just comes down to give that mercy. So here, characteristics of bhakti is explained. Okay, so this is Bhakti Yoga. This is the pure bhakti. These are the characteristics. This is what you get. Characteristics means these are the things you get when you perform Bhakti Yoga. Okay, so now let's move on and see what is 9 stages of bhakti, right? Again, in Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Rupa Goswami explains, Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sango, Atah Bhajana Kriya Yato, Bhajana Kriya Tato Anartha Nivritti Shat, Tato Nishta Ruchis Tata Asaktis, Tato Bhava Stata Premabhyudanchati Sadhakanam Ayam Premnaha. Pradurbhave Bhavet Kramaha. So eventually, so he explains there are 9 stages of Bhakti Yoga. So those, what are those 9 stages? He explains it. Adau Shraddha. Shraddha means developing a faith. Okay, how do you develop a faith? Let's say, for example, you are in this cycle, right? You are we are in this cycle. In this cycle, Papam, we are performing sinful activities, sinful actions, one after another because of this proclivity and from the bija. So when we are in this cycle, what makes you have a faith in the Lord, right? When you are sinful, you cannot think about the Lord. Okay, so this cycle is keep on going, not for one life. This cycle is keep on going for life after life after life after life. Then what is a hope? Where can we get a hope, or how can we get out of this cycle? Can someone take a guess? Any guesses? You're allowed to unmute and talk.
By Bhakti, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can you please repeat?
By Bhakti.
Right. Yes, good try. But the thing is, like, they are in the sinful reaction, but how can you get to that bhakti from there? That your answer is right. But my question is, I want one more stage before that. Before getting into bhakti, how do you get into that bhakti?
Kripa.
By Jigyasa.
Someone said kripa.
Myself, Madhupati.
Oh, thank you, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes. Perfect, Prabhuji. Yes. Kripa, by the mercy. Right? So we do when we see when we go for Jagannath Rath Yatra, Atlantic City Rath Yatra, or any Rath Yatras, we see Jai Prakash Prabhu pulling all the devotees. Yes, come, just come, touch the rope of the Lord. They don't know what is happening. They don't know who that is on the chariot. They don't have a single idea. Maybe they may not have any idea, but just by coming and touching the rope, what is the importance of touching that rope? Why is Jai Prakash Prabhu moving in and out, bringing in the people standing on the line in the rows there to come and touch the rope of the Jagannath Ratha? Why? So that is Kripa. That is called as the Kripa of the Lord. So when you are in this cycle, when we are in this cycle of sinful actions, this Kripa or the mercy of the Lord in the form of prasadam, or in the form of darshan, or in the form of some good activity towards someone like for example, my example, Bhagavad Gita came to my house somehow, some kripa just came to my house. That's it. That is the potency of Srila Prabhupada. That is the potency of Srila Prabhupada and his books. When that comes with a package for a long term. It's not a short term thing. It comes. It's not a. It is not a coincidence. Now, if it happens, that's it. All these things are burned away. All these reactions, actions, everything is burned away. Goes like that is the kripa. Thank you, Prabhuji. So that kripa will give you that will get you out of this cycle, and that gives you little faith. Acha, okay, we saw that DT the other day. So let's see, maybe shall we go to the temple once? Like the other day, Gordhan Bhakta Prabhu was explaining his story, somehow Devakanandan Prabhu went his home with a pamphlet saying that we're forming a temple or something. Just with that, he had all those notions, what is ISKCON, all those wrong notions about ISKCON. Then somehow that faith or something developed by seeing a devotee, that developed, and he went to the temple, not for bhajan or not for anything, but just to see, okay, what they're doing. That develops just by that faith. So when that develops, you or we get in touch with the sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha is association of a devotee. Then the devotees talk to the people. They encourages them. Okay. I was hearing one of the classes. The most worst thing one can do in the form of aparad or a sinful activity is taking a soul or living entity out of Krishna or away from Krishna. Okay. So we knowingly or unknowingly, we may offend or we may perform some activities or we behave in such a way sometimes that that may hurt living entities, and that may move the devotees out of Krishna or away from Krishna. That is the worst sin, no matter what level of a devotee we are or what level of situation we are in. If this happens, Krishna will be very upset, because please remember, they are going through this cycle for millions and millions of births, animal body, plant body, different bodies. So when they're going through this cycle, how can you, they got a chance by some kripa of the Lord. Lord has arranged some kripa, and from that kripa, he tried to come and associate with the devotee, sadhu sangha, and we just crush it out with our behavior. So my dear devotees, it's for me also. We have to be very, very careful when we deal with the devotees. So that is very important. So it takes enormous amount of energy for the Lord. And I'm not for the Lord, he goes through so many things to reach to this stage, right? Sadhu Sangha. And with our behavior, we should not crush it out. That's what I want to say. So when that devotee is nurtured, so that seed which was faith, which was formed, it becomes a twig, and the twig was watered and nurtured nicely with sadhu sangha and everything. Then he understands, oh, people come for Mangalarti also. So Mangalarti means they come and they do some chanting. So let me also come one day. What happens? So what am I losing? One day, let's go. So they come. They perform bhajana kriya. They start chanting a little bit, somehow. From that bhajana kriya, when you do bhajana kriya, especially in this Kali Yuga, chanting of the holy names, when we perform the chanting of the holy names, anartha nivritti, all this will be, whatever we have spoken, right? This will be taken away. Anartha, all the anarthas are removed. The layer, like if you, let's say if the soul, right? Let's say in Bhagavad Gita explains that it's like a mirror. The mirror was dusted layer upon layer upon layer, life after life. So there are so much of layers that the natural quality of that mirror has gone. It's not reflecting anymore. Mirror, the natural quality of the mirror is to reflect and show who you are. Like whoever is watching the mirror, they should see their face. But because of these anarthas, one after another, layers of layers, so that mirror was covered with this bhajana kriya, which is with this activity of devotional service, with this activity of some bhajan, listening to the kirtan, getting attracted to the kirtan, doing some japa, listening to the class, listening to the glories of the Lord Hari. Now all these things, it just breaks down, it cracks that anarthas or the coverings crack, and slowly it washes. Slowly, that washing process starts from here. So then at one point, devotee becomes nishtha. Nishtha is he's determined now. When he's determined, he wakes up every day, 4 o'clock, no matter what it is. We have devotees who are doing this. They do it no matter. They sleep at 2 o'clock, but they wake up at 4 to perform their bhajana. So that is nishtha, determined. When you perform nishtha for a long time, then you get ruchi, the taste develops. The taste is, it says that, the name of the Lord is so tasty. Now, I haven't experienced, I'm sorry, but I'm just passing on what I have heard from other great Vaishnavas. So, the name of the Lord is very ruchi, the taste is there, right? The taste develops for them. And from the taste brings asakti, and from the asakti comes bhava and prema. So there, bhava and prema are similar, but I don't want to go into those details. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu explains that, but I don't want to go into those details because I'm already late. So now, that is the 9 stages of bhakti. Okay. So when you are on the stage of bhava, that is when, or bhava and above, bhava or prema, then Krishna, then that attracts Krishna. That's what Srila Rupa Goswami explains. Srila Rupa Goswami explains that when you're in the stage of bhava or prema, that attracts Krishna. So all these devotees, at one point that strikes, and they go into that bhava and they call out for the Lord. The question is, like Gajendra fought with the crocodile for 1,000 years. Now, why is Vishnu jumping around and saying that Garuda, you were so late, I have to go rush to him? Why didn't he come early? He was fighting for 1,000 years, because this stage was not reached until then, until he offered. He was going through these stages in his previous life. The moment he remembered his previous life, Gajendra, he called for it. He pulled that lotus flower from the twig there. He pulled that lotus flower. He offered, stretched it out to the sky, and he was started praying to the Lord with all the realizations he had from this previous life. So that is the stage. Then it attracts Krishna. Then Krishna comes running towards you. He said that you are here for millions of years. I was waiting for this moment. I was eagerly waiting to see when you're going to come to this stage and call me. That's when Krishna comes. Okay. So that is the 9 stages of bhakti. I have other one, so which is 9 limbs of bhakti, or 9 processes of bhakti. Okay, which is, I'll just go very brief because I know I ran out of time. So that is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So these are the 9 processes which were defined by Prahlad. When Hiranyakashipu asked, Prahlad, what is the best of the knowledge you have learned from your gurus? You went to the gurus, like his gurus were Chanda and Amark, the great sons of Shukracharya. Then when Chanda and Amark taught him for some time, he went for a break to see his father, Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj, what have you learned? What is the best of the knowledge your teachers have taught you, or you learned from your teachers? Then Prahlad was thinking, my teacher is only Narada Muni. Narada Muni taught me everything when I was in my mother's womb, Kayadu's womb at Narada's ashram. So he was thinking the best of the knowledge there, what I got is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Mandanam, Dashyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. iti pumshar pita Vishnu bhaktische navalakshana kriyate bhagavati adha tanmanye adhitam uttamam. So he says that that is what I learned, that is my guru, Narada Muni. That's the best of knowledge. I mean, here gurus are also there, but the best, the what they taught is not best. But what the best I learned is from the guru, who is Narada Muni, and these are the 9 processes. So if you he's quoting Vishnu Smaranam there. No, that's very irritating for Hiranyakashipu to hear. Hiranyakashipu's enemy Vishnu, and he's quoting his name there. He's putting it there, and he's not telling it's a Hiranyakashipu Smaranam. He's saying that Vishnu Smaranam that agitated him. Now, so let's talk about these 9 processes. Okay, Shravanam is listening. Example is Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj uh, heard Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days with apt attention, without a distraction, no food break, no health break, nothing. He was just sitting for 7 days, listening day and night continuously to Sukadeva Goswami. That is Shravanam. And he was taken away by the, after the, he went back to the God. First thing. Second thing is Kirtanam. Kirtanam is again Sukadeva Goswami right there sitting, and he was telling the stories of Bhagavatam one after another. Okay, in the same Kirtanam, Kirtanam means Sankirtan movement also. Kirtanam, if you do alone, is Kirtan. If you do with lot of together with lot of other devotees, it is Sankirtan. So there are many devotees who have dedicated their lives for this for Sankirtan. Okay, so that is one of the examples. Then examples for like Dhruva Maharaj was also chanting the names of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narada Muni gave that verse, that mantra for him to practice. There are many others, so let's cut it short. So Smaranam is Prahlad Maharaj again. Prahlad Maharaj was remembering Lord day in and day out. Every second he was remembering the Lord, no matter what condition he was in. Maybe sometimes he was on the fire, he was drinking the poison. He was remembering Prahlad Maharaj, and he got liberated, or he was out. There are many verses. I have other verses, but let's go short. So Pada Sevanam is Lakshmi Devi. She was always serving the Lord. And Archanam is Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj, it says that Prithu Maharaj has performed 99 yajnas. We know that Prithu Maharaj performed 99 yajnas, and 100th yajna was stopped by Brahmaji. That we know that all the stories. But Prithu Maharaj was also doing Archana of the Lord by his Hridaya Kamalam, Idam Hridaya Kamalam. He was meditating. He is doing the Archana through the meditation. He was doing Idam Nayana Kamalam. He was giving his eyes, lotus eyes, to the worship of the Lord. He was giving his Hridaya Kamalam, his lotus heart, to the Lord. He was offering different activities like that, different parts of his body to the Lord's activities. So that is Archanam. So that is an example of Prithu Maharaj. And Vandanam, Akrura. And Vandanam again, Gajendra, our example. So Gajendra he was praying to the Lord. On the dust stage, he got liberated. Same thing with Akrura. Akrura was praying to the Lord, and he was in ecstasy. That is bhava. He was rolling on the dust of Vrindavan, Braja Bhumi, after seeing the lotus feet of the Lord right there. He was rolling with ecstasy in the dust. He's a minister of Kansa's palace, but he lost all these things. He forget everything, and he was rolling on the dust. So that is Vandanam, and he was praying to the Lord whole journey from Mathura to Vrindavan. Okay, then comes Dasyam. Dasyam means complete surrender. I talked about different types of dasas in one of the classes, but let's keep it short, so I'm not talking about it. So Hanuman is a good example of Dasyam. Dasyam is like he completely surrendered. The quality of Hanuman, or the type of the Dasya he doesn't wait for Lord Ram to give instruction to perform his activity. He just goes, sits in front of he with folded hands, not sits, he sits, he kneels under the lotus feet of Sri Ram, and he waits for the order to be given to perform that activity. That is the Dasya. You completely surrender. The another point Acharya mentioned is that if you say Dashyam means you should consider that if the Lord is like there are so many theories of Mayavad, is like that Lord doesn't have a body, Lord doesn't have anything, right? But if you believe that there is something called as Dashyam to the Lord, that means Lord is a personification. Unless there is no unless there is a personification, how can you perform that seva of Dasyam? So that is just one extra point. Sakyam is good friends, Arjuna and Uddhava, who are the good friends of the Lord. And Atma Nivedanam is Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj completely surrendered everything. His guru, Sukracharya, is telling, hey, fool, he's Vishnu, he's going to take away everything to you. Even knowing that Vishnu will take away everything, he was very happy to give everything for that. So what will Krishna do? Krishna becomes a servant of that, and a doorkeeper. Sorry, Krishna becomes a doorkeeper of that Bali Maharaj in the lower planets. So that is, you give something to God, God will give you like multiple times more than what you have given to him. So that is Atma Nivedanam example. So one thing I want to cover at the end is, so I wanted to go, okay. So basically in this Kali Yuga, Bhakti Yoga is stressed basically upon the Sankirtan and chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this world. Lord Krishna in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this world, gave this beautiful mantra, which is supposed to be very secretive. People knew that. People knew that there is some mantra called as Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But they are secretive. They were not sharing to anyone. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave it profusely, openly to everyone. Okay, take it. At least you chant this mantra and get out. So that is what it says that. And I just want to quote one verse and leave it. Okay. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam kalau nastheva gatiranyata. So there is no hope at all, except for chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, right? So except this mantra, there is no hope for the living entities to get out of this material bondage or to get out of this suffering in the Kali Yuga. Okay. Thank you very much, devotees. I hope I made some sense here. Please forgive me if I made any mistakes. I have tendency to make mistakes and offend everyone. Please forgive me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think we have some time for to share your reflections if you have any.
Thank you very much, Hare Kishore Prabhu and Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu, nicely covering this yoga ladder. 2 verses, I think you didn't share. I just want to point out those 2 verses are from Canto 6, I think chapter 2 or chapter 3 from Ajamila. They're talking about the pure bhakti, how it removes all the 4 or 5 stages you mentioned, the sinful activity. Kechit kevalaya bhakti vasudeva parayana agam dhanvanti karstan niharam yoga bhaskara. Other one, Prabhupada quotes, is Brahma Samhita. Estu Indra Gopam Mataves Ahoswa Bandhan Rupam Palabhajan Matanot Karmani Kinchit Bhakti Bhajam Govindamad Purushottam. These 2 are the important verses. There are many other verses, but these 2 verses Prabhupada quotes again and again.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, can I ask a quick question? Can you just go over what you were saying about the aprabdha and prabdha? You were talking about the alcoholic. So I think that's a very good point, that even though the alcoholic, he's trying to quit alcohol, he's not able to. He has that sinful proclivity. He has the sinful desire, which generates the papam. But somehow I'm just getting stuck between the manifest and the unmanifest reaction. Can you just explain this again with relevance to that alcoholic, please?
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you. I'll try. Okay. So let's see. So drinking alcohol is sinful reaction. He performed a sinful reaction once. Okay. So when that person performed a sinful reaction once, then from that action, you get 2 reactions. Okay. So sorry, you get an unmanifested reaction and a manifested reaction. Okay, manifested. Sorry, this is unmanifested. What is unmanifested? Unmanifested may take into two forms. One unmanifested is unmanifested can turn into, let's say, for example, right? Let's say this is a tank. Okay, let's say there is some sinful reaction and there is a tank. You put something on the top, and from the bottom you don't get everything out in one go. Whatever you put, let's say you put 100 ml of water on the top of the tank, but the down which is the hole which is releasing that thing is not completely 100% at the right time, because that the hole is small, the life is small, right? That alcoholic tendency is there, but this person, um, like in the example of alcohol, when you put that he performed a sinful reaction, it is unmanifested, it's a prarabdha stage. That a prarabdha stage has two forms to it. One form is that it can turn into a prarabdha, which is a immediate suffering. You know what I mean? For example, in the form of dizziness, headache, or hangover, whatever we call it, right? I don't know those terms basically. So you get that suffering right there, maybe that night or maybe the next night, whatever, or next morning. So that is prarabdha. But still, as I said, please remember, this is just an example. This is not a completely matching example, but let's try to understand with this, right? So when this person he suffered like currently, that is prarabdha, he suffered a little bit, but his suffering, the amount of sin he has performed is not taken away with this prarabdha. There is still left over, that'll go into kutam, or that habit. One thing is that habit will develop, and the second thing is the still that aprarabdha is there, and that aprarabdha can be transformed into papam in the future, and the prarabdha that turns into prarabdha in the future time, like in the form of a disease, in the form of losing an organ, like liver cirrhosis or something like that, right? So those diseases, this is aprarabdha stage. As I said, it's a tank. The tank as a water, the water is released immediately because of depending upon the hole, right? But still there is water in the prarabdha. That aprarabdha will carry forward to future. Now, when it is conducive for him to suffer, okay, that comes out in the again in the form of prarabdha in the future time. And that aprarabdha can take another form also. It can also gives a proclivity or addiction. For in this alcoholic thing, it's an addiction for the person to perform that act again. Oh, I enjoyed it, let me go back and do it again, So that's where I told you an example of, people knows they're doing bad, but they can't control to not do that bad thing. The mind is saying, hey, you're doing bad. They know that they're doing bad, but they cannot control themselves to do it because of this proclivity, or because of that addiction, or because of that prarabdha, which is pushed into the form of proclivity, that inclination to perform that act again. Does it help, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. That's very helpful. Again, I mean, I know that you're not trying to speak only about alcoholism, but it's very helpful because this is a very complex topic. And if we can give a very practical application, such as alcoholism, then that's very helpful. And in my case, I work with a lot of patients with alcohol addiction. So this is very helpful for me, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Haribol Prabhu, Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Prabhu. Very nicely you explain this vicious chakra, Papa chakra. So thank you, Prabhu. Dhanabad Pranam to you. But I want to know that papam, the sinful action. Can you define the sinful action? This is mentally or physically or like that? You have to define properly. Can you define? Can you explain a little bit? A physical action also there is a sinful. Mental action also there is sinful. Can you define these things?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So I'll try again. So as I said, with the ignorance, a desire develops, right? So the desire will give it out to perform some action. It can be mentally or physically, okay? But the action is there. Now you are thinking bad about some person, or you are thinking to do something very bad. That is mental. Yeah, it's still a papam. Okay, papam is any action. It can be mental or physical. It's still a papam. You know what I mean? It's sinful. I heard in one of the classes, just for your clarification, I heard in one of the classes, somehow with Lord's like apar kripa, causeless mercy, with Lord's causeless mercy, some acharyas mentioned that the papam which is performed with the mentally related papam is not applicable in Kali Yuga. Lord gave some kind of chut, what do you call it, some benefit for the Kali Yuga is that the mental sins what you perform are not applicable in Kali Yuga. I mean, that is just, I heard one of the classes, I don't remember which class, but this is just for your information, Prabhuji. Does it help, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, I got that information. Yes, but anyhow, your mental is not your mental. If your mental is not Shuddha, means not purified, so automatically again that will action come up, right? So I think that mental also something, mental and action, do both we need to remove. So, and I'm thinking that in our day-to-day basis, we have a lot of thinking. So frankly tell you that lot of negative thinking, lot of positive thinking. So whatever the negative thinking, everything, all the papam, again the vicious circle. So we are talking of giving the some remedy. That the Bhakti Yoga is the remedy. That is correct.
Right.
But question is that those thinking, those is again it is creating the pap, right? Papam.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So,
Yeah. I mean, papam, whatever you have done, it will take a prarabdha reaction. I mean, it comes into this form, and again it's a cycle. If it is mental or physical, any one of them, so it'll take this cycle again and again and again. So, and the only bhakti yoga is the thing which will remove or burn away all these things, mentally, physically, anything. Bhakti yoga will take it out.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Haribol Prabhu.
Haribol Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your very detailed, clear explanation today. Both Prabhujis gave me a very good detailed explanation. Thank you so much, Haribol. I have a quick question, Prabhuji. Like, let's want to have a clarification. So consider there are two devotees, and one devotee is doing the prayers and meditation and all those things, like whatever it said in the Vedas, like is doing and with mindful meditation and all those things. And another devotee is stepping up to the temple to do the activities like cleaning the floor or washing the vessels or like whatever the needs of the temple. So is there any difference in this exchange of bhakti to Lord Krishna, or both are same? I just want to have a clarification.
Hare Krishna. Akhilesh Prabhu, do you want to take this?
Sure, Prabhuji. So if I understand the question correctly, you're saying that in one case, devotee is doing, performing the bhakti at home by doing the japa and kirtan, and in another case, devotee is going to the temple and serving, doing
Right.
seva, right? And then
Right. That is one devotee is doing mindful bhakti, like within his mind, and one devotee is doing like physical activity, like whatever it is needed to serve the Lord. So that's the difference.
So Prabhuji, we have to understand that what exactly is the purpose of bhakti. Purpose of bhakti is to develop love for Krishna, or it can also sometime be understood as that what is the sadhya, what's the ultimate goal. Now if the purpose is love of Godhead, love for Krishna, then how do we manifest that love? The manifestation of love is always in the form of seva. So Now, there can be, you can understand, it's very contextual in a sense that, let's say that, there is a service needed in the temple, and somebody is saying that, no, I'm busy in japa and I don't want to come and do the service. So where is the manifestation of love in the physical form? At the same time, if somebody is going to the temple and doing the service, but is not interested in um, taking the name or doing the japa, meditation, kirtan, which is the yuga dharma, then that person falls in the category what we discussed, karma yogi. So he's in the process, he's on the right process. He wants, really, that person is more physical, and wants to serve devotee, want to serve Krishna by the actions. Okay, but by that service, his senses will get purified, and then he'll develop the love. So it's kind of a very contextual, Prabhuji. And does that make sense what I said?
Yeah,
Does
sure,
it
Prabhuji.
answer your question?
Yeah, that's very clear actually. So what I was thinking from your observation is, once you develop a mindful devotion bhakti to Krishna, that will give you like to go more than an inch, like go to the temple and do this. That will be like a reflection of the mindful bhakti, which will be towards the rendering the actual devotional service to the Lord. So I understood, Prabhu. Like it's both are related, one going to the other. So it cannot be like a different thing. Like,
Yes, yeah, wonderful, Prabhuji. Like I said, in the case of when we did touch upon it earlier, the Niskam Karma Yogi, when we discussed this point, I mentioned that it's very nicely explained by Acharyas that when you're doing the Niskam Karma Yoga, uh, a devotee is in the Niskam Karma Yoga stage, when there is a bhakta, he is thinking about what is it that's needed. There's no attachment. What is it that needed by Lord? How can I serve Lord? Lord needs cleaning of the vessels. Lord is hungry. I need cooking. However, a karma yogi who is at the level of Niskama karma will think that, oh no, I like painting and I want to serve Krishna only by painting. If somebody says that can you broom the floor? No, sorry, that's not something which I'll do. I can serve Lord only by painting, or I can serve Lord only by cooking. Very nice question, Prabhuji. Thank you.
thank you so much, Prabhuji, for clarification. I appreciate it.
Akhilesh Prabhu, I have a question to you. Regarding yoga, you already described all the karma yoga and Gyan yoga, Bhakti yoga. Hari Krishna Prabhu to explain the Bhakti yoga very nicely. But can you tell me that so Sankho yoga also there? What category of yoga of the Sankho yoga? This is Gyan yoga or can
Yes.
yeah?
Short answer is yes. Short answer is yes. Sankhya Yoga is the analytical study of the now analytical study. If it is at the of the matter and spirit, then where the purpose is to transcend the modes of material nature, then it comes under, then that's called Jnana Yoga. Sankhya Yoga is Jnana Yoga.
But Sankha Yoga actually in some Bhagavatam classes, Sankha Mahamuni Sankha also discuss about the bhakti also. So in morning class, I heard that from Krishna Namananda Prabhu. He was reading some slokas. It is mentioning the bhakti yoga also. So maybe I forgot the slokas. So it is interrelated, or it is both the Bhakti Yoga and mixed of the Bhakti Yoga and Gyan Yoga, or no, just Gyan Yoga?
So there are two things, Prabhuji. One is that a general understanding of yoga ladder. So in the general understanding of yoga ladder, there is like Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Astanga Yoga in that fashion. But Prabhupada, when he is explaining about yoga, he doesn't consider it as a yoga if it is not related to Krishna. So in that sense, Karma Yoga is also devotional service. Jnana Yoga is also devotional service where devotee is engaged in study of the scriptures, understanding, then anything which is like a devotee knows how to dovetail anything for the service of Lord, and that's what is the view of, and then that's how Prabhupada has explained, and that's why any place you see right from Karma Yoga. That's where I took example of what Madhupati Prabhu told that when I asked him about Karma Yoga, he said that how an action performed for the service of the Lord becomes Karma Yoga, but it is actually Bhakti Yoga as well. But we have Krishnamanan Prabhu. Maybe he knows, he remembers the context. Prabhuji, you want to add something, correct?
So depending on the context of the verse and from which chapter we are discussing, chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Because without giving that knowledge, he cannot understand, he cannot go further. So that's at that specific point, Krishna is talking about Sankhya Yoga, and Prabhupada expands further. Yes, longer Sankhya, which is just detailing about this body and soul, but and that ultimately leading to bringing the soul to bhakti. But the much more detail at length is discussed in Canto 3. That is the actual full depth of the Sankhya Yoga, which Kapila has explained. But ultimately, that essence of that also to bring a living entity to bhakti, to explain how this creation is happening, what are the elements, how it is coming from the Supreme Lord. But it is not, it is not like a pure bhakti, we can say. But again, we'll have to refer to the exact verse, because in some verses, Buddhi Yoga, Prabhupada translates again and again as Krishna consciousness, directly Bhakti Yoga. Even sometimes in Karma Yoga also, Prabhupada translates as Krishna consciousness. So we'll have to see the actual context in which chapter it is coming. But in general context, it is Sankhya Yoga, means it is the Jnana Yoga.
Okay,
and there is in Bhagavatam, there is a Sankhya and Muni, that is another context is there, but that's a different one. So we'll have to understand first which context we are talking, then we can try to address it. Thank you. Prabhupada ki jai.
Very well, Babu. Got it, Babu. Thank you, Babu.
Thank you. I think it's few minutes over, so nobody has other points. Then over to Madhupati Prabhu.
Okay, thank you very much, both Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu and Hare Kishore Prabhu, for nicely covering this topic of Bodies Yoga. So that brings, we covered 5 sessions of the 6-session course. So we started off